Alien Romulus, the 2024 Alien movie directed by Fede Alvarez and produced by Ridley Scott. Evidently, given Ridley Scott's history with the Alien films, both of them collaborated extensively to bring this one to the screen. Alien Romulus. I know from comments on my channel that this one does divide opinion, but apart from a couple of elements in it I don't particularly like or I'm not particularly enamoured with, overall, well, I'll come to that later. It's got a running time of 1 hour and 59 minutes, an aspect ratio of 2.40 to 1 approximately. I know it had 1.90 to 1 for faux IMAX screenings, which, given this was not shot on film, are all entirely video, unless IMDb has got its facts wrong. It had an estimated budget of $80 million and took, at the worldwide box office, $351 million. It's got Dolby Atmos on the 4K disc and DTS 7.1 on the Blu-ray disc. Now, I didn't go into this extensively, but I did have a second look at this on my telly because I thought the video quality might look more successful on tellies than it does video projected, and I'm not sure that's the case. It looks like an Alien film, but the sound through the telly, just through the speakers on the telly, on the Dolby Atmos sound, it still sounded pretty bassy. On the DTS 7.1, it didn't have that bass aspect to it in the same way. In here, running it through the THX system, the bass in this is sensational. Quite often you felt like you weren't going to be able to stay in the seat much longer, and I don't often have movies up this loud in here, but this was a new Alien film, so it's got to be done, hasn't it? And I thought the sound was an outstanding feature of this. And in terms of surround sound, I'm sure if you've got all your Atmos speakers up there in the ceiling, you're going to find all the channels are working. In here, the sound was everywhere. It enveloped us just about all the way through the film, but really it's the bass. So the best thing you can have for your sound system, whatever you've got, is a really big subwoofer. Right from the start, all the elements of the look of the original Alien films are here. The sets, the practical effects, the 1980s style computer systems. That to me is more futuristic than trying to do all these futuristic computer systems that really aren't that interesting to look at. But the original Alien and Aliens type computers, I think they work best of all. That helps draw you in. Throughout you're going to pick up elements of the original films, harks back to them, Easter eggs I know people call them, even the same lines occasionally are being used. I know they pretty much started this in Alien Resurrection. It's carried on in this. I love seeing and hearing all that sort of thing because I know the Alien film so well. Not Alien 3 so much, but I have promised a lot of people that if it gets a 4K release, Alien 3, I will finally take a second look at that film. But the opening, the 20th Century Studios logo, I'm pretty sure I can remember that. A very similar opening on the 20th Century Fox logo on Alien 3. There's the face-to-face Sigourney Weaver to the xenomorph in Alien 3 that didn't really look much like the Alien we knew, but I think they've reproduced that largely in this Alien Romulus. Ian Holm as the android, Ash in Alien. He's brought back as an android, a different android in this, what's left of him. And this was one of the things I didn't particularly like, but I got into it as it went on because the android is a torso. He's been ripped apart a la Bishop in Aliens, and you don't see that, but just the remains of him. They bring him back online, and there are bits of it that look brilliant when it's just the animatronic puppet, but when they've added the CGI, that's one aspect of this I wasn't particularly enamoured with, but now that I know it's in there on a second viewing, I may actually appreciate that a lot more. Possibly the most important thing for many of us, the aliens are scary again, and I like all these references back that are included, the Jerry Goldsmith score. I think I might have picked up James Horner in there, but I'm not the biggest fan of Prometheus, and this is Well, I've got two Blu-rays of Prometheus. This is the standard Blu-ray and this is the 3-disc Blu-ray with the 3D version of Prometheus, which I got in a local store recently for $1.99, I think. And I thought maybe I'll take another look at that and I'll have another go with the 3D, which I originally saw in the Empire Leicester Square, and it didn't really work for me. I didn't think the 3D added anything, and when I got the standard Blu-ray, I felt this was better. I've watched the 3D again in here. I enjoyed it more than I did in the Empire. I think it helped that I had glasses that you could see the whole screen in here, whereas the huge screen at the Empire, as it was back then, you couldn't take in the whole image with the restrictive glasses we had on. But I think this is a good value Blu-ray. I will give it another try sometime. It's got a great score, and that score does turn up in here to suggest that elements of Prometheus are going to be in this Alien film, and that's another element. Because I'm not particularly enamoured with Prometheus, I think I like it as a standalone film, but not in the Alien universe of films, and so when it was obvious that was going to be coming into it, I thought, oh dear. And I'll try not to give any spoilers away, but there's a creature in Alien Resurrection known as the Newborn, and I think Fede Alvarez wanted to include that in this film because I think that is just about the scariest alien that's ever come about in these films. Here he is. This is the alien Newborn, or she. Not sure what it is actually, a he or a she or an it. But when you see this on film, I've only ever seen Alien Resurrection on film, and in fact I brought half of it in here. This is Alien Resurrection, the first half. This is about 5,500 feet of 35mm film. I enjoyed this so much at the cinema, Alien Resurrection, but I just knew it would not work on video. Maybe when a 4K disc comes out, with them being more representative of film than anything that's gone before, maybe Alien Resurrection will work again. But up to this point, the only way to see that film is on film. Then you've got all that reality and this alien Newborn in that. The close-ups of their face, the skull, and you can see something moving there like eyes. It's pretty terrifying. So the Newborn thing that's in this is a bit of a cross between that and Prometheus. So I wonder if Mr. Ridley Scott and Mr. Fede Alvarez had to have some sort of a compromise there in order to include a Newborn. But because it wasn't the creature that I loved from Alien Resurrection, it was more a cross of the things we see running around in Prometheus. That took me out of it. But again, now that I know it's in there, I think a second time of watching this, I'm going to appreciate that a whole lot more. Now, the image quality of this, interestingly, I find it is very similar to Alien Resurrection. It's not as good as Alien. You wouldn't really expect it to be. That was shot full frame anamorphic 35mm. Alien Resurrection was a Super 35. Okay, it was 18 years after Alien. You'd expect that maybe that would look better. It doesn't. But it's still a good look for this type of film. And even though this was entirely shot 4.5K digital video shrunk down to 4K, it's got a similar sort of look to the Super 35 of Alien Resurrection. I like the way it looks. I think it looks a lot better on a shrunk down telly because of the size differential. So I think a lot of people will be thinking this looks, well, I know a lot of people refer to reference quality. I don't think anyone's going to say that this is that, but I think people will be impressed by the way this looks. Get it on a huge screen like the 85-foot wide of the BFI IMAX. I'm sure it will still look very good. And of course at IMAX cinemas, they would have done it 1.90 to 1 because this was shot with a bit of extra top and bottom to get away with showing it as IMAX for the faux IMAX theatre presentations. I like the way it looks. I certainly like the way it sounds. There's some very good extras on here. I don't normally these days go through all the extras on a disc, but because this one started off interesting, showing all the practical effects of people working on the sets, making the aliens come to life, how they did the aliens, the chest bursters, the face huggers, and this Newborn thing. I'm not sure they actually feature the Newborn much in these extras, maybe not at all actually now that I think about it. But there's a lot to like about the way this film is made. So if you're one of those people that didn't like Alien Romulus when you saw it in a cinema, or now that you've seen it on home video, maybe have a look at the extras if you get a chance, and that might give you a greater appreciation for the filmmaking process that went into this one. I was expecting, because I knew it had a young cast, I was expecting it was going to be a load of annoying youngsters that full of smart aleck comments and just generally annoying, but there's only one of them I found slightly got on my nerves, and again, I think when I watch it again, I won't find that to be the case. After all, in Alien Resurrection, I like the humour in that. A lot of people didn't, but I liked it from the outset, and as the years have gone on, I've liked it more and more. So could be the same thing for many of us with Alien Romulus. There's just the film on the 4K disc, and once again you've got the option when you put that on. I think first of all it comes up and asks you which language you want it in. English is the top one, and then the next option is play movie or go to menus, and so you can just go straight into it. I like that. I hope that becomes a common thing on 4K discs. But the extra features are just on the Blu-ray, and as for the quality of the Blu-ray, it's not as good as the 4K, and the reason for that is the colours are wrong. In isolation, as usual, it looks excellent. Well, it is excellent. It's just that the 4K is better, more realistic, more like a film, even though this wasn't shot on film. So I think this is an impressive pack. I don't think you've got to love this movie to enjoy this 4K. My wife was sat with me. I think she enjoyed it even more than I did, even though I had the sound up rather loud, and normally she tells me off a bit for that, but this time I think she was drawn into it, and right until the end it was pretty scary for her. So I think it would be pretty scary for most people if you get drawn into it, and if you love the Alien films, even though there might be a couple of elements of this you won't be too enamoured with, like myself, I think there is much to admire about Alien Romulus. Would I recommend this? Well, it's a difficult one. I think it's worth watching. I think the extras are all worth watching, which is unusual for me. Rarely do I go through all the extras on a 4K or a Blu-ray disc nowadays, but this one, it drew me in to want to learn more, and that's normally a good sign. So, I think that brings us to the end. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give it a like, perhaps subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.